to a point at which women's sport was perhaps still growing, till being now front and center of sport through the WPL. Talk us a little bit through that journey.
Yeah, I think firstly I'll start with whatever I heard. Rajesh and yourself, I think was something really nice to hear. It's always good to see people investing in sport overall in India. So really positive signs for the country. I think sport, as you said, sports forward nation. I think I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I think when I started, I think whenever we say that nowadays we sound old, but but yeah, when I picked up bat and ball, it was more to just do with my brother playing and my father also had played. So to see, I wouldn't even talk about women's cricket. I think to just see women's sport evolve, growing up. I think when I turned 10 and 11, I think the first time we heard of Sania Mirza becoming a icon, and we all knew that, oh wow, there's a girl in sport, and that really inspired us. Then few years down the line, we started hearing about Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, and it was also encouraging. And for women's cricket, I think in India, I think it's just been a journey from the time we started playing, in terms even for the Indian team, to having stadiums which were mostly empty to now filling out stadiums wherever we play as an Indian team, or with RCB. I think it's just a good, brilliant thing to watch. And I think more importantly, as cricketers or as sports people, sometimes people misconceptualize thinking that we want equal stuff, or I just feel that what we definitely want is equal amount of respect. And I just feel in last 5 years, I think women in sport have definitely been in a place where people know, people appreciate us, criticize us, which is great. I think people are caring about women's sport, they are watching it. So I think it's a journey, and I just feel like more and more investments of this sort, and right stakeholders taking right decisions for women's cricket and women's sport, it's only going to lead the way forward.
So Smriti, I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, and I couldn't figure out who was more jealous when I told them I'm meeting Smriti. What does it mean for not just boys but girls when more girls are playing sport?
I think it's massive. I think I remember doing an interview 3 or 4 years back, and they asked me, what is your ultimate dream? And of course I said, oh, World Cup, and all of those things. And then they said something out of, the cricketing field. And I thought to myself, and I said, the ultimate dream would be just passing by the road and watching two women's team play a gully cricket match. I think that would be my ultimate dream, because we see that so much. Guys play and all of that. Nowadays, you see a lot more women participation in gully cricket as well. We see 2 or 3 girls playing with 10 or 15 boys, but I think the ultimate dream down the line would be just passing by in my car or anywhere, and I'm just watching two women team playing gully cricket. No professional sport, nothing. They're just enjoying the sport. I think that would be really cool. And as you said, I think the amount of girls, or college-going girls or school-going girls, have come up to us in the last 2 or 3 years asking for a photo. Or genuinely, guys used to come a lot more before. In the last 2 years, since the WPL has started, it's all turned that a lot of girls and people who I don't see them that they would be following a lot of sport, they come up to all of us and say that we've looked up to you. And for us, actually, that feels like one of the wins of our life, that we've actually inspired girls to watch sport or play sport. I think that's something, that's 2 ultimate dreams you would want to do.
Wonderful, Smriti. And just to conclude, we talked about what sport can do for India, but also what India can do for sport. And in many ways, what has it been like in these dressing rooms where suddenly India is the epicenter of women's cricket? I mean, we've had other leagues, but now everyone who's anyone in women's cricket would like to play here and be in your dressing room. So how have those conversations changed over those last 6-8 years? You played in other countries, now the home is here. What has it been like sort of being Indian in that changing milieu?
Yeah, I think the change is massive. I think we used to play Big Bash and 100 even before the WPL started. And the only question everyone used to ask that, when is WPL coming? And finally that in the last 2 years it has started. You see a massive change. I think WPL has shown the world how women's cricket can sell in a way, because I think what we have seen from the outside, even I'm not talking about playing cricket, but even reading articles about what happened before the WPL had started in terms of the broadcast deals to, the franchisees putting in the bid. I was just reading it and I was like, wow, I get to play. So just as an audience, I'm not even talking about playing myself. So definitely, I think the conversations have changed massively, and now they all are really excited playing into WPL. They want to do everything what they can to get into a WPL team, which is cool. I think as an Indian sitting there, I'm just feeling like, wow, okay, it's a different sort of interest which they have, and I think as men's IPL has done in India, I'm sure that few years down the line, we'll try and see what the WPL can do for the Indian audience as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Smriti. Nitish, can you tell us a little bit about the sprint capital of India that you... So, Rajesh, if I can start with you first. So, why RCB and why SPPL? Why take on this much larger initiative and talk about what India can do for sport and what sport can do for India?
Hello. Nandan, as discussed, as I mentioned during my initial address, the whole objective was how can RCB contribute to the biggest purpose of moving sports in India, because the impact of sports worldwide is enormous, right from economic development to social development, and the thought was how can RCB be a big part to it. When we looked at that, we saw what is the best way to introduce ourselves into this purpose, and the purpose was how do we bring the softer aspect and push that agenda forward, and that was the thought of coming to it.
And I think one of the things you talked about, which I'd like to get into a little bit more deeply, is this fan engagement aspect and the use particularly of technology. If you look around, most recently RCB was #1 ranked also on engagement and on social media. What has driven that? What's the thought process, and what can in many ways other sports learn from the experiences and learnings you've had at RCB?
I will cite one example. If you look at badminton, there are a lot of badminton academies floating around, where the kids play, parents play, and when the kids are playing, the parents want to watch them, or grandparents want to watch them, or the friends want to watch them, but they may not be sitting in the same city. Technology can be enabled where it can be live telecast through an app to across people, and that is one breakthrough. When more people see it, more people enjoy it, more people appreciate it, they are getting into the category. So that is one aspect of it. We need to build at grassroots level from that. How can we induct people, more and more people, to view the sport at that grassroots level, not at a national level, also at the grassroots level. Once you do that and integrate that with a system where you have scores across, again, connect all the badminton academies and have a scores across, and that becomes a league at that level. We need to start thinking in that level, like how American sports thought about at a state level or a university level. We need to start at grassroots level.
Fantastic. And Smriti, if I may come to you, how much has sport changed from when you took up sport?
Thank you for, I think, bringing this event together and, giving a platform to share how sports has a big lever for a social change, right? So at our organization, Bridges of Sports, it's been 8 years now, so we are focusing on how we can identify communities which have inherent skills, and in the Mungod region, which is around 400 kilometers from here, they have an inherent skill for speed. As Rajesh mentioned, there are tribal communities there who have lived in forest for long and been part of actively hunting from last 400 years. So they've developed those skills for speed, and in the last 8 years, we have been able to work closely with the community to build this sprint capital. I think there is still a few more years, I think one more decade probably, where we can really call it the sprint capital, but we are moving in the right direction, and with the partnerships now coming together, especially say the Made of Bold initiative, it really helps accelerate this process to work closely with community, not just in achieving the results, outcome of performance, but how do we create that social impact where there is a value for developing high performance communities.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nitish. And Deepti, if you could tell us a little bit more about the Made of Bold program As an example of the many different ways in which corporate India is actually playing a role in sport, what does it tell us? What have the results been so far? And how do you conceive of that partnership?
Thanks, Nandan, and congratulations, Rajesh, Divya. We've been talking about CSR and corporate India and how has Indian sport really moved and how the needle has changed. I think what's really interesting in the last 3 or even 4 Olympic cycles, you've seen a lot of funding that's come into an individual athlete. And most of the funding comes to 30, 40, 50 athletes, and corporate India has played a big role in that. But what we're now seeing is over there is a lot of funding coming in, but your talent pool, if you're talking about 2036 Olympics, is going to come from academies, communities, and the rest of India, not from the 30, 40 athletes we're putting all our money into. So therefore, pathways are very critical, and a program like Made of Bold and RCB coming in and looking at communities, I think that is very special, because most of the time, corporates also want to look at the top of the pyramid, right? Where you get immediate success, somebody who's already been there, done that. I think more of corporate India coming into communities, coming into states will see the funnel growing, because the ladder is broken at multiple places. When you talk about any sport, when you look at badminton or even when you look at cricket, today women's cricket has a beautiful pathway. 5 years back, the girls had to really struggle to make it into the Indian women's cricket team, when even Smriti made it. But I think putting in those pathways, putting in the talent, corporate India plays a really big role. And there are incredible projects like Bridges of Sport across the country, different communities. India is so diverse. Every 60 kilometers, we have different food, different places. There's so much of talent everywhere. So I'm sure we can broad base this. We can see a lot more Indians qualifying, doing better, and at the end of the day, having healthy citizens and good role models for this country. Smriti just spoke about, when she was a young girl, seeing somebody else do it, and I think for us as Indians, we build that capacity to say we can also do it. If they have done it, I can also do it. So I think sport plays such a big role on all these elements of, what it is to be an Indian today. I think that's really special.
Wonderful. And Rajesh, if I can just close with you, what is the message you'd like to talk to other people saying, okay, I don't know how to get started. I've been watching from the sidelines. Now I want to get active in being part of the sport forward nation. What is your message to them?
2 things. One is, again, as Dipti and Nitish pointed out, India is all about community. Don't ignore community. If India has to move forward, the communities has to move forward. So please look communities who can contribute to sports very closely and invest in them. It's not just about winning medals. We will win medals eventually, but it's all about building the community up, ground up. This is helping India develop. It is not just about building medals. Elite sports is required, sport for development is required, physical activity is required. Look at holistically and invest money into it. Not just about putting money on infrastructure and stuff like that. That is required. But if you don't have athletes to perform, then what's the point? So that is the message I would like to.
Wonderful. Smriti, looking to sport, looking to make sport part of their lives. Anything you'd like to say to our youngsters?
Well, I think the only thing which definitely works for me is like at that age, when you start playing, I don't think anyone really thinks that, oh, I want to play this, I want to play for the nation, or I want to get medals. I think you just start for the passion, and I think that's the most important thing. And the only message I would say that which always helps me is try and enjoy each and everything. And sometimes things are not going to work out. Maybe there'll be studies or something or whatever. I don't know what will happen at that age, but if you have passion, I think, and if you enjoy what you're doing, not only what you do on the field, even off the it, I think magic happens. So just stick by it, keep doing it day in, day out. I think things work out.
So have fun. God is the sprint capital of India. What is your North Star goal?
I think once we have boys and girls from India running sub 10 seconds for boys in 100 meters and sub 11 for girls, I think that's when we can truly call it the sprint capital. And that from a community-led perspective, right? I mean, it's very easy if you build a center in Bangalore and get the best athletes of India and do it, but will that create value for the community? Maybe not, right? But if you do it there and we achieve it, yeah, it can be the sprint capital of India.
And this is not the first attempt with the community, right? It's the first, but it's the first time you're doing it within the community rather than
Yes.
taking athletes out of the community into new places.
Yes, in the past there have been initiatives where the athletes or children were selected and brought to Bangalore, Delhi, Shimla, but because they've lived so many years in the forest regions, getting adjusted to urban lifestyle, a lot of children would run away or drop out, and the program never really sustained. So when we first went and met the community leader, they told, why can't you do it here? I mean, we can do it together here, so children feel safer and closer. And I think a lot of, when Deepthi mentioned about athlete pathways, right? When you understand and work closely with communities and understand the different needs of the boys or the girls and community in general and build program, I think success comes, because we have got success not just by developing, we have like 3 of the fastest Indians from that same region across different age groups, but also more than 70% of our athletes are girls today. And that's not because we went and scouted for girls. We just built systems where it makes them safer to come, right? And I think that's really critical when you build community-led projects.
Lovely. Deepthi, last word. What is your notion of a sports-forward nation?
Currently, we take pride in being, the youngest population in the world. But along with that, we're actually the highest diabetic nation as well. The health problems that we have as a nation are increasing day by day because there is no physical activity. And with technology and everything else coming in, movement has become a challenge. So I think a true sport-forward nation is where everybody is able to move, run, throw, jump, lift at any age and lives a healthy life. And I think that is only going to happen when all these different structures in our ladder come together and work together. And we have other things to discuss about rather than, health. Because sports forward really means putting in systems, processes, and the ability for a young person to know that if I'm doing well in sport, I can get to the top of my game. But if I am a regular person, I also have a good active life. So for me, that's a sports forward nation.
Wonderful summary. Thank you,
Thank
Deepthi. I think Smriti has to leave for another. Thank you so much. And one photo with the book. Thank you so much, Smriti. All the best for the season.
With SSA in getting this report up and running. Thank you very much. It was a lot of hard work which went in for a couple of months to get this up and running. If you look at, people keep asking what has cricket contributed to other sports. So that sparked a light in RCB, and we started to figure out what we can do. So if you look at sports sector in developed countries, in UK, it contributes around 99 to 100 billion in direct economic output in UK, which is around 2.5% of total UK's economic output. So it is big, massive. And if you look at, if you break that down, sports related activity, which gives around 53.6 billion. Even direct employment, wages, 34.8 billion. And every $1 invested gives a multiplier effect of 55 pence. So if you see in total how sports contributes to a nation is massive, massive. But in India it is very negligible, it is very small. That's when we came to it and thought, what can we do? If India has to move forward, sports in India has to move forward. Contribution from sports has to increase in multiple fields. And we looked at what is that, what we can do. And hence we came back with a vision of this. How can we explore innovative pathways to advance sports ecosystem in India? To basically to get into deeper understanding and different pillars, how different pillars can impact sports. If you look at India, the infra piece is taken by Government of India and big companies, Tatas, Reliance and JSWs. But there is one piece which we felt which is essential to move sports forward, which is a softer piece, which is a dialogue, which is the governance piece, and acting as a mirror saying that what is required in these 4 pillars for India to move forward. And hence this report, if you go in detail, this report talks about that in particular, saying what is required for India to move forward. And with that vision, we came up with the first RCB Innovation Lab Summit in the month of November last year, where we had different experts from different fields within India and outside India coming and contributing to this agenda, saying what it requires to be done in India to move sports forward. Briefly, just touch upon, Divya spoke about from an AV saying that what sports can do to India. If you look at India, there is one big piece which is elite sports, and that is critical to move India. And we will do multiple things in that to our initiative and different companies' initiative. Apart from that, what can sports do? Physical well-being. And we all know how sports can impact physical well-being of individual. If you look at India, the population is young, and by 2036, 2037, this population will start aging. But then how can this population by now can contribute to this journey of development in India? So one is that, how can this population be physically active and what is required to be done? And we all know how sports can impact mental well-being too. Every sports person, every individual who's been active is mentally fit too. Third one is individual development. Individual development is all about positive impact on person's employment opportunity, the behavioral changes. There are clear evidences to prove saying that how sports can impact the leadership style, cognitive benefit, and how sports in general can push that individual forward, soft skills and stuff like that. The third and important is the society and community development.
Role. If I'm in a government position in a state level, what is my role? And I think there is enough for each of us to do, and I like the term Rajesh used, stop being spectators. We're excellent spectators of Indian sport, probably the best spectator base in the world, and start being participants. Participants could be simple ways of just increasing your own physical activity, playing a little bit more, or it could be actively using all of the powers that are in your hands to advocate for sport and move sport forward. So when we talked about a 10-step roadmap, none of it is going to be revolutionary when you look at it individually. You would have heard of a lot of these things over your time thinking about sport, working in sport, but it's actually when all of it comes together that the power really is demonstrated. And we talk about policy, we talk about regulatory landscapes where the government moves a little bit away from a very strong implementation mode but moves to a much more enabling mode. We understand there are going to be some road bumps along the way, so how do we actually move forward effectively using technology as we get our talent pathways moving? I like to see talent pathways as a little bit of a ladder, and our responsibility as a system is to make sure there are different rungs of the ladder where if there's talent, the progression of that talent almost becomes inevitable. But also looking at various new stakeholders, schools, colleges, or even the way we plan our cities, the way we plan our workplaces, building active frameworks where we bring more people into the realm of living healthier lives, but also nutritionally rich lives, which actually becomes the raw material for building a much stronger, healthier nation driven by sport. And then you look at what the economic and social developmental power of sport is, and we have wonderful examples here today. We also understand that sport can drive an economy not just from a spectatorship perspective, but also from creating jobs. One of the central and largest issues of our times is what is the future of jobs at a time when there's tremendous amount of disruption by technology. And actually sport is going to be one of those things which remains extremely human. The beauty of sport is in its humanity and the fact that we are actually moving our physical bodies. None of it is going to be replaced by AI in the physicality of it. There will be jobs which are replaced by AI, but the human ingenuity is going to find new ways to use AI to actually keep sport moving forward. But we must look at things like manufacturing, coaching, physical training, and building that economy of sport which is going to be driven by skilling. And I'd just like to end with talking about sports science and research. along with the social and developmental aspects of sport. So just understanding the power of sport, building stronger research bases and repositories of the way we run sport. There might be an Indian way of high performance. There might be an Indian way of getting more people to play sport. Understanding the powers that lie within our own traditional knowledge, but also imbibing sports science from across the world so that we actually have strong starting points. Every new initiative doesn't have to go back to square one. We have a base of strong knowledge, data, and understanding from which many initiatives, there could be businesses, there could be social developmental initiatives, they can leapfrog with a strong base of data. So that's our 10-step roadmap, and we deliberately call it a participatory roadmap because it has a role for every single one of us. So I invite you to read the report. Happy to answer any questions as we go along. But it's an exciting time to think about mainstreaming sports policy. This is not a subject we talk about often, and wonderful to have someone like Smriti here advocating for sports policy and a sports forward nation as well. And thank you, RCB, for the opportunity to have this discussion and to actually, in some sense, shine a light on something that we perhaps don't talk about enough, but has tremendous amount of potential. Thank you.